Hello, role-playing people, and in this episode we'll be taking a look at the Luciferian faction for Demon the Fallen. It's easy to see them as competent, resilient, and very well organized warriors who go around preaching loyalty to Lucifer, love for humanity, and eternal vengeance on the giver and loyal host. Whether they can truly live up to those traits and ideals, that remains to be seen, because probably their biggest flaw is that they never learn. Their leader's rebellion and the war it brought upon the world caused nothing but harm and destruction, even as Lucifer tried his best to empower and elevate humanity. Under the tutelage of his watchers, humanity simply broke because the knowledge was too much and too sudden for them to use and understand. The all-encompassing language of Enochian shattered into a myriad of mortal languages which changed and evolved while the fallen were in the pit. So instead of uniting, Lucifer's gestures divided. Just like instead of staying together after their formation, the legions themselves went their own ways in an event called the Breaking of the Legions. Every small victory before the pit, even Lucifer's victory over Michael before Cain murdered his brother Abel and brought destruction into the world, even those small triumphs have always been met with devastating defeat later. The rebels took to their prison in pride and defiance, only to discover their leader wasn't even among them, suffering the same punishment they were. And even in this, they saw an act of triumph. The fools! Correct me if I'm wrong, but was it not Lucifer who pulled the archdukes from the pit, thinking it was a good idea? Look what that did to the world and mortals. He is effectively responsible for the Earthbound, which his loyal faction is desperately trying to fight and contain without any real success. After the Luciferians emerged from the pit, having promised to resume their war on the giver and host, they found their enemies gone. They pride themselves on being the Morning Star's army, even took to reinstating legions, the Legion of Majestic Liberation, the Legion of Glorious Victory, and the Legion of Stark Defiance. But even the weakest army can take over a location if they are unopposed. So, are they really as strong as they claim? Well, the only ones currently opposing them are the other factions and the Earthbound. The Earthbound, who have only recently awakened from their slumber, so they haven't proven any real valor yet. As eager as they are to resume the war, which obviously in their point of view was not lost, oh no, the pit was a minor setback. If the giver were to truly return and fight back, it would blow the Luciferians away with little effort. Perhaps the reconcilers know something this faction doesn't. Oh, and the cryptics surely know a whole lot more. Even the potentially abusive Faustian faction has its merits. They are effectively reigniting the spark of faith in a dying world, controlling the burn and empowering mortals, while leading everyone into believing this is mutually beneficial, with the possibility of destroying God, maybe not directly, but erasing God as a concept from the care of mortals. This is a real victory against the Loyalists. What do the Luciferians have to show? They barely have time to manifest any regard for the humanity they claim to love. Loyalty to Lucifer? Don't make me laugh. They are not doing this for loyalty. They are simply too caught up in their own lie to admit that they, like the cryptics, need a leader. Unlike the cryptics, who have seen the error of their ways and are trying to find new perspectives on being in this world, the stubborn and childish Luciferians want the same leader in power, the same leader who has done nothing but destroy everything since their fight began. They are even going about fighting their supposed war, using the same strategies that have failed before. This is hilarious. This is the biggest rerun I've ever seen. And still, they are organized, they are trained, there is no doubt about that. If anyone can subdue or hold back the Ravener's destruction, it's the Luciferians. If anyone can take on the cults of the Earthbound and maybe even destroy their reliquaries, it's the Luciferians. Capable fighters, yes, but the ability to destroy or triumph over an enemy or another doesn't automatically mean Said warrior knows how to preserve peace once the fighting is over. Indeed, even as their celestial enemy is nowhere in sight, their mind is on war. Because after millennia and millennia of fighting, it's the only thing they know how to do. And even in this aspect, like in everything else they've done before, on their own or at the behest of Lucifer, they have failed. They have already failed, and they continue to make the same mistakes under the same leader, hoping for a different outcome that will never be. Under these conditions, it's no wonder Lucifer doesn't want to have anything to do with his faction and is nowhere to be found, answering none of their summons and calls. Their noble causes are gone. Only the impulse and reflex to fight remains. Thank you very much for listening. This is probably the most hopeless take I have on the Luciferans, but I do hope you enjoyed it. Take care, have fun, and don't forget to play.